My part in this mission is, Joe, I get you to trust and believe. And your part is to turn all of that self-doubt right there into faith.
Hola, George. ¿Cómo
Hola.
estás?
I'm good, thank you.
So where are you at right now?
I am in the great city of Los Angeles.
En tu casita.
Sí, cerquitas a the Griffith Observatory.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and look at, so here's some trivia that not a lot of people know. So I was born on April 23rd, El Día de San Jorge. So when I was born at the General Hospital, which is not very far from here, the guy who was my father was already sketchy, and my grandmother, que tenían como no pelos en la lengua, you know, they said, so what are you going to name the boy? And my mom was going to name me Anastasio over the guy that they thought was my father. And my grandma was like, no, we're not naming him after that dude. No, we're not. And my mom's like, Mom, I want to name him that. No, some guy that's not around. And she tells the nurse, what's today in the calendar? And it was St. George Day. So when I bought this house in 2014, in the other fireplace, the guy said, hey, I cleaned the fireplace, go look in there. And from the 1920s, there's a St. George tile in that fireplace.
Wow. Esto un mensaje.
Crazy. That's crazy, right? That's a mess.
Yeah, that is. Pero te libraste de llamarte Anastasio.
That would have been my name, Anastasio Lopez. Wow.
Anastasio Lopez.
I don't even think I've ever met an Anastasio, so I'm glad that my grandmother was there to tell my mom what to name her baby.
So you were born here in the United States?
Yeah, my grandmother was born in El Centro, so she was born in the United States, and then my mom was born in Los Angeles, and then I was born here. So I'm more, not as Mexican as people would be led to believe.
Well, I mean, this was Mexico, so right?
Right. So I was in the right place.
Yeah. So George, ¿cómo te sientes? ¿Cómo has estado? How's this quarantine going? Man, we've been through a lot this past year.
Yeah, I think it's been 400 days since I've done a stand-up show, but also, the loss of people, unfortunately over this last year, and almost having to reset now. So I don't think I would have taken a year off of work had this pandemic not occurred. But in the year, it gave me a chance to, for the first time, look at my life down the line and not so much about work.
So has it changed for you? Like, la perspectiva de tu vida, do you see life different after this, or has it changed in any ways, or no?
Oh yeah, a lot. I used to think that como no podía vivir sin trabajar en la comedia, but I think the stand-up, if anything was going to go, because you have the restaurants ahí in Torrance, y la cerveza, and the carne, that whole line is taking off, that posible que me siento mejor quedándome más en la casa than being on the road. So maybe I'll take a little bit of a break. But so many years of doing it, which I love it. And I love that people have always come to see me, but I can see myself, posible que leaving a little bit of that behind,
Yeah, and resting and spending time with your family, right?
Yes, that's right.
So what with Herb, did you shoot it while the COVID stuff was happening?
No, it was before. I think it was maybe a year and a half ago in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And, this is a movie that kind of just lines up. Like, somebody sent me the script and they said, Edward James Olmos is supposed to be in this movie. And I said, I don't know about that. So I called him up and he said, who's this? And I said, oh, it's George. I said, hey man, are you supposed to be in this movie? He goes, I never heard of that movie. And then I said, really? He goes, but let me find out. So he had it, he hadn't read it. But then when he read it, he called me back and he said, listen, this is something that if you'll do it, I'll do it. I think we can make this really good. So I don't think I would have done it with another actor.
Right.
But I'm glad that he was the guy that I was able to do it, because even Kathleen Quinn, who's amazing, but Eddie's es como un ídolo, he's like one of my idols. So to be able to think that when I went to go see Zoot Suit in high school, that El Pachuco and I, for almost 41 years later, would be doing a movie together would have been something I never would have imagined.
This is crazy. Is it the first time that you work with Edward James Olmos?
Edward did my television show toward the end of the run. So he played a guy that was the owner of an airplane parts factory in Arizona, and that we were going to move the company to Arizona. So yeah, he was on my show.
So you guys shot this in Las Cruces, Mexico, because I was gonna ask, where was this? Because it was beautiful.
Really beautiful, yeah. In Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the sunsets are amazing, purple and blue, and really incredible. And the mornings, and I think we spent maybe 2 months there, but we spent a month rehearsing, which I've never done before, because I don't think anybody rehearses to go on a comedy tour. You do by yourself. But Eddie and I would meet every day, all day for a month. And as much as I hated it in the beginning, I don't think that I would have been as good as an actor had he not been there for me, and that we were able to spend a month doing this, rehearsing together.
So have you ever, the message of the movie was, it's very hopeful, and we need that right now, especially.
Yes.
Have you ever had this awakening or, message from God or something that you can relate to the movie?
You know,
¿Te ha pasado?
I've never really told this story. I don't think I've told it many times, but in San Fernando, there's a church called St. Ferdinand's Church in San Fernando, but there's also one called Santa Rosa. So I was more of Santa Rosa, but for some reason I would go to St. Ferdinand's, and antes que iba to the Comedy Store on a Monday, I would always be scared to death to go perform. So I would go to St. Ferdinand's como las dos, and I would sit in one of the pews in the back, and I would pray that whoever was up there would allow me to just be funny, or get me from the on stage, off stage, and let me be good, or let me be creative, and let me, be on this journey. So every time that I worked, because I'm superstitious, so every time I worked, I went to the church and I sat in the back. And after like a month and a half, I found a note in one of the books, and it was a handwritten note, and it said pretty much like, if you believe in what you believe in, and you follow your heart, and you follow your faith, that nothing is impossible. And I'm like, how would this note end up in this book, handwritten, sticking up just a little bit? And how would it be in that pew? I never went to the same one. I would go to a different one. I never went to the same, so nobody would know that I would go in there. And I wasn't anybody that anybody would even pay attention to. But for whatever reason, this note showed up in that book. Crazy.
Have you ever had like a miracle, or something that you consider a miracle, or maybe your family, or a family member of yours?
Well, this house is I wouldn't say haunted. Well, I would say haunted, but it had a lot of spirits in the house. So I would say that I had somebody that passed, and I didn't realize that it's probably not good to call them. So I said, if you're all right, let me know. And that night, that there was orbs flying around and banging upstairs. And since that time, it got a little bit noisier, and it got a little bit crazier with pictures and images and pictures. So I had a lady come, and she cleaned the house out, and it's much different. But it always made a little bit of noise, and then it made a lot of noise, and then it made more noise, and then I started to feel it around me, and then I decided that I would have somebody come in here and take care of it, because there was something that I don't think was good in this house.
Did you see anything, or just
no?
You saw?
Yeah, and heard and saw something in the reflection in a picture, not a mirror, but in a picture, and I was like, oh yeah, this is not good.
So te han jalado los pies, George?
No, pero has sentido como cuando estaba dormido, como alguien estaba andando ahí right next to me, like the mattress going down in lugares. Oh.
So you do believe in this, like ghosts and spirits and afterlife?
Yeah, I believe that, and I don't believe it because I was raised by my grandmother, and she believed all that stuff. I believe it because I've seen instances, and have seen things that only could have been that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
George, you have always spoken, your whatever you think.
Yeah.
Tú tienes pelos en la lengua. Have you ever been scared of expressing your political views, like with Donald Trump? Were you ever scared that you were like, oh, maybe they're going to do something to me? Or did they threaten you, or did you receive any threatening?
Oh yeah, of course, death threats. And but in the beginning, I thought it was important for me to make my voice heard as someone who always stood up for issues that were involved Latinos, but not a lot of people in Hollywood did that. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to name any names. I think it's clear that there's a bunch of them that didn't do it, and I did it. And I did it in my HBO special. I did it, live in DC, and for that, there's death threats against my life, people being rude to me at the airport, or really kind of looking out for your safety, or you see it in somebody's face. But it didn't scare me or deter me in any way. I think ya pasó el tren, so I don't think I have to do it anymore. But in the beginning, when and not even Latinos needed a voice, I would have done it just because it's not right. That I was really maybe the first one to step up and make my voice heard.
Pero recibiste como no sé, ¿recibiste amenazas del gobierno o nunca? Solo de la gente.
Not from the Secret Service came to my house. Me hablaron de un chiste, sí. Pero if you think that whatever you tweet or whatever you put on Instagram or whatever you put on your Facebook, somebody's not watching, they're watching.
They're watching.
Yeah.
And what happened when this happened? When
they just came to visit me to make sure that I was, not a threat, and that I was, a comedian. And I told them, they didn't think it was funny, but right. I said, I'm a comedian, and I didn't think it was a threat. So will I tone it down? Yes, because I don't want to end up on the government's, hit list. So even the guy in Florida that had the list of 100 people, Cesar Sayoc, that he wanted to blow up, my name was on that list. So,
Oh, are you
it's a little bit of a compliment, a little bit like, like some guy wants to blow you up, but hey, at least you made the list. There were a lot of comedians that I told that, and they're like, was I on the list? I'm like, sorry, man, you weren't on the list to get blown up, but don't feel bad.
So did that make you stop or kind of change your mind and be like, I'm just gonna tone it down a bit, I'm a little scared here? No.
It's almost so like, all those people are cowards anyways, because it's all anonymous. But if they had to put their license down, or if they had to put their email address down, nobody would do it.
Okay.
I said some unkind things about the police officers. I support the police most times. I know not all of them are, but I said something that I didn't even think was that bad. And then they attack you like in a swarm, but then tienen miedo, and then they go on to someone else. Okay. So, being in the business as long as I have, and knowing social media the way that I do, I know that when you're in the hot seat, it's not going to last for a long time. And, if it's what you believe, then there's no need to apologize.
Okay, so how do you feel now with this new administration? Porque ya se fue Donald Trump, thank God.
I think that they have a lot to do. I don't, Kamala Harris, I met a long time ago. I knew her mom, and I know her and her family, but he's been in there only since January. But I would expect that by the end of the year, that I hope that there would be a lot of changes to the system, and there wouldn't be people living in confined areas.
Y aparte los niños que encarcelan, ¿ves?
But there's got to be a way to identify the people that are there, because only in identification will you ever maybe even consider being able to put kids back with their families.
¿Qué vas a hacer después de esta película? Después de que se estrene, ¿estás haciendo algo ahorita? You're working on something. Are we ever going to see George Lopez back, like on a night show?
Maybe. I think so.
Okay.
God willing, they say. But vamos a ver, maybe one more. I think maybe one more antes que, you get a little bit too old. Pero there's a couple of things that I'm working on y todo eso. Y con la comida, the restaurants are doing good. La cerveza que tengo is doing good. And, that's something that 5 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined that I would have my own beer, or that I would have.
¿Cómo se llama?
Se llama Tal Loco Cerveza. Y hay uno que es de hibiscus de Jamaica, right? Sabor, y poquito de naranja, and a little bit of grapefruit, and así. But it's very popular. People like it.
Where's your restaurant? Do you have one in LA?
The
¿Cómo se
restaurant
llama?
that I have is called Bruce Hall. It's in Torrance, California. Y ahí hacen la cerveza ahí. And one of my restaurants, Chingon Kitchen, is right in that place.
¿Por qué,
How
Bruce?
could you not like a place called Chingon Kitchen?
I'm gonna go. Hey, voy a ir. Te hago una
bueno.
entrevista ahí. ¿Sí?
Yeah, that's why.
Do you cook?
You know, those recipes that I made, they're not
Uh-huh.
too complicated, pero la cosa es que, you know, my grandmother cocinaba, you know, but not picadillo and not eso, but I would like that fideo. But, you know, it's hard for those chefs to make fideo every day. So we kept it, you know, carne asada y cosas, they're vegetarian también y todo eso, pero it's fresh and it's good. We make churros right there to order and people like it. So I like it. It's good.
That's good. Thank you so much, George. Muchas gracias. Te veo en tu restaurante. ¿Me invitas?
Yes, of course.
¿Ah?
You're invited. Yeah.
Okay. I'll do like a
Dile
really
a la
cute,
muchacha que está aquí. Yeah. Get that.
yeah? Okay,
Yeah,
perfecto.
I'll
I want to
send
do a story about the food you make and, no, que
Oh,
está,
yeah.
está chingona.
Está chingón. All right. Qué bueno.
Okay.
All right,
Gracias,
good.
George.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Cuídate.